If you're not using these features on your Fold 5, you wasted your money. One of the big benefits of being able to see the back and front of your device at the same time is that if you go into your quick toggles and enable a feature called wireless power sharing, you'll be able to put your phone face down, then put a wireless charging capable device on the back of your phone to start charging it, and still be able to use your phone while you're charging the device. And if you don't see the wireless power share option in your quick toggles, just swipe all the way to the end, tap the plus icon, and scroll through the toggles at the top until you find it. Now just long press it and bring it down to the bottom. Once you tap done, you'll be able to access it right from your quick toggles. The next thing you need to do is enable a hidden camera menu that allows you to go from taking slow photos like this to fast photos like this. First, you need to download an app called Good Lock from the Samsung Galaxy Store. Make sure you download it from the Galaxy Store and not the Google Play Store, because the correct app is only available on the Galaxy Store. And make sure you download the one by Good Lock Labs. This is the official application from Samsung. Once it's downloaded, go ahead and open the application, and you'll be met with a ton of different plugins that dramatically enhance the functionality of your device. And there are 2 tabs worth of plugins. Good Lock is so powerful that the last time I covered it, it took almost 2 hours worth of video. And I'll leave a link to those videos in the description if you're interested. But keep in mind that those videos are a bit older, and there's a lot of new features that have been added since I uploaded those videos. So for this video, we're just going to go to the Tools panel and look for the tool called Camera Assistant. Once you find it, go ahead and install it. And once it's installed, go to your camera app, then go to the settings, then scroll down until you see a new setting called Camera Assistant. If you tap this, you'll see that you get a bunch of extra powerful camera features. Most importantly, you get these 2 options here: Quick Tap Shutter and Capture Speed. If you enable Quick Tap Shutter, the photo will be taken as soon as your finger touches the shutter button. This will help you get much faster shots, but at the potential cost of a bit of blurriness if you shake the camera too much when you press the button. Capture Speed is a setting I use to get incredibly fast photos. I switch this to prioritize quality to prioritize speed, and this would be useful for capturing photos of something like a sporting event. Or you could choose to balance speed and quality to go somewhere in the middle. Another incredibly useful feature in this hidden camera menu is this timer multi-photo option. If you select this, you can take multiple photos with a single timer. So I can choose how many photos are taken, and I can also choose the time interval between those photos. So if I set this to 1 second and selected 5 pictures, then go back to my camera, then set a timer, it'll take the first photo in however long I set the timer for, then it'll take 4 more photos with 1 second between each photo. This is incredible for taking group photos, especially with kids, and you want to make sure you get a great shot the first time, instead of having to run back and forth to the camera to check the photos. Having a massive screen to work on is great, but what if you want to quickly reply to a message, but you can only use one hand because you're busy carrying something else with your other hand? Well, all you have to do is tap this icon in the corner of the keyboard, and that'll give you a floating keyboard, which is super easy to use with one hand. Then when you're ready to use 2 hands again, just tap the icon again, and it goes back to a full-size keyboard. And if you have smaller hands and this keyboard is too much of a stretch for you, you can tap this icon instead, and that'll split the keyboard into 2 to make it easier to type on. And this is actually my preferred typing method. And if you're left-handed and can't reach that toggle with your left hand, just long press it and drag it to the left side. Then you can tap it, drag the window over, and now the window is going to always open up on that side. So if I minimize this, then open it again, you'll see that the floating window stays right there. I'm sure you're aware of multi-window and how it allows you to have up to 3 apps open at the same time in various orientations, but you probably don't realize just how useful this is. For example, if you're researching something in the internet browser, you can split it into 2 independent windows to easily compare products. Or if you're taking notes for work, school, or a home project you're working on, you can long press and drag images or text from one window right into the other. Or you could have your calendar open at the top of your screen and your email open at the bottom so you can quickly figure out which dates work best for a meeting. Or you could open up your music controls in a pop-up view, then swipe it to the side to dock it. Then when you want to make a change to your music, just tap it and you can make all the changes right there. Or if you need to do some quick math, you can open up your calculator in a pop-up view, tap this bar at the top, then tap this double square icon, and reduce the transparency so you can do your math while still seeing what's behind the calculator. These are just a few quick examples, but there are countless incredible uses for multi-window, and if you're familiar with multi-window, let me know how you've used it in the comments below. So now that you know why multi-window is so useful, let's look at some of the ways to maximize its usefulness. For starters, in order to open up an internet tab in a new window like I showed you a moment ago, just go to the Samsung Internet browser, tap the three bars in the corner, tap Settings, tap Layouts and Menus, and make sure this Show Tab Bar option is set to either Always or Only on Large Screens. If it's set to Never, you'll see that the tabs disappear on the top, but if I switch it to Always, you'll see that the tabs come back. So once you have the tabs at the top, just long press one of the tabs, and you'll see this option here called Open in Other Window. And that's how you can do side-by-side comparisons. And while we're on this page, I do want to point out that Samsung's currently having a limited time deal on the Fold 5, where you can get up to $1,000 off with a trade-in and get a free upgrade to 512 gigabytes of storage. I'll leave an affiliate link to the deal in the description and pinned comment if you're interested. If you want a much faster way to open your apps up in multi-window view, just go to your recent applications, long press an application, then you can drop it in the center to open it up in pop-up view, or you can drag it to one of the sides to start multi-window. Then you can quickly open up an application on the other side with either recent applications you've used in multi-window view, your most used applications that are paired with this application, or any other application you have installed on your device. And if you have a lot of apps installed, you can tap this search icon here and start typing to quickly find the application. Alternatively, you can tap this grid here, and that'll open up all of your applications in your app drawer. And from here, you can either tap an application to immediately open up in multi-window view, or you can long press the application and drag it to a specific location. And while I already showed you you could long press an image and drag it into another application, this gets even more powerful if you long press the image, then release, then scroll down a bit, you'll see the option here called Clip Subject from Background. If I tap this, that'll Photoshop the subject out of the background. Now, if I long press and drag this over, I'll get just the subject, but not the background. And while this may not work in every application, it does work with the Samsung Internet Browser as well as the gallery. If you already have an app open, all you have to do is long press an application in your taskbar and drag it out wherever you'd like to open it up in multi-window view. And if the application you want isn't in the taskbar, just tap this grid in the corner, and you'll be able to go through all of your applications to find the one you need. Some applications can have multiple iterations open, so if I grab another Samsung Notes application and drag that out, then do it again, I can have 3 different versions of Samsung Notes. I can then drag even more out to the center to have them open in pop-up view. And in case you're wondering, the max number for a single application is 5. You can, of course, open up more than 5 if you choose a different application. And while I have these pop-up windows open, I do want to quickly point out that these are resizable by grabbing the corners. You can obviously move them wherever you want by grabbing the bar as well, and if you tap the bar, you can minimize it to a little icon. Alternatively, you can drag the corner till it shrinks all the way down, and it'll drop back down into an icon as well. If you do this to multiple applications, they'll stack on top of each other, and if you tap it, you'll be able to see all the applications that have been minimized. From there, you just tap the one you want, and it'll open back up. I should also point out that some applications like YouTube do not allow you to open up multiple iterations of the application. And that kind of makes sense because I don't know why you'd ever be watching 2 YouTube videos at the same time. The taskbar holds up to 8 applications, but if that's not enough for you, there's 2 things you can do. The first thing is to long press an application and drag it on top of another application within the taskbar. That'll allow you to create a folder with however many applications you want. Then, when you want to start a multi-window, just open up the folder, long press the application, and drag it to wherever you want. The second option is to set up your Apps Edge panel. This panel should be on by default, and it allows you to access any of these applications from within any other application. So if I had the YouTube application open, I could swipe in to reveal the Apps panel and select any other application I want. Or I could long press an application and drag it in for multi-window view. Another big benefit to the Apps Edge is that if you have it enabled, then you have 2 applications open in multi-window view. If you tap these 3 dots in the middle, and then tap this star icon, you'll be able to add that app pair to the Apps Edge panel. So now if I closed out of this pair and went back to my home screen, then open up my Apps Edge and scroll down a bit, you'll see that app pair right there. I can tap it, and it'll immediately open up both those applications in the same orientation I had it. And you can even do this with 3 applications, and you can add those app pairs to either the taskbar, right down there, or right to your home screen. And now I can immediately jump into the app group by tapping right here. If your Apps Edge panel isn't enabled, just go to your settings, then display, then scroll down until you get to Edge panels. Then you can either tap the toggle to enable it, or you can tap the Edge panels text and get some extra options. If you tap the panels option, you get the option to add a bunch of extra panels. These range from things like a tool panel that gives you a ruler, a surface level, and more, a people panel to quickly call or message friends and family, a tasks panel to quickly set up calendar appointments, voice memos, and more, a weather panel, as well as a few others. While we're in the settings, if you back out a couple pages, then tap the taskbar option, You can change the number of recent applications shown in your taskbar from 2 to 4. But this will depend on how many applications you typically have in your taskbar. So if this is loaded with all 8 applications, you'll still be limited to 2 recent applications. And there's one more hidden taskbar feature that you first have to enable by going back a couple pages, then scrolling down until you find navigation bar and tap that, then switch to swipe gestures. This will give you a better version of Apple's swipe style navigation. The reason I say it's better is that this navigation mode allows you to go back by either swiping in from the right or left, and it works in any application, not just some applications like on an iPhone. And now that we've switched to gesture navigation, you'll see a new option here in the taskbar menu called Show and Hide with Touch and Hold. That means you can long press next to the taskbar to hide all of the applications and give you more screen real estate. And if you want even more screen real estate, you can go back into the navigation bar menu and disable the gesture hint, which is this little bar here at the bottom. And that's how you can maximize your screen real estate on the Fold 5. And if that's still not enough screen real estate for you, you can swipe down and go into your advanced features, then multi-window, and enable full screen in split screen view. This will give you even more real estate when you're in split screen view. For reference, here's what 3 applications look like in the normal mode, and here's what they look like with full screen mode enabled. As you can see, it goes all the way to the top and bottom edges of the screen. While we're talking about the multi-window settings, if you jump back into those settings, you see that you get a few more powerful options. The first one is called Swipe for Split Screen. What this does is allow you to quickly start multi-window by swiping in with 2 fingers from one of the sides. This works on both sides as well as the bottom. The second option is called Swipe for Pop-Up View, and what this does is allow you to start a pop-up window just by swiping in from one of the corners. And the size of the pop-up window will be dependent on how far you swipe in. Show multi-window menu with one window brings up this multi-window bar right here and leaves it there for any application you have open. If you tap this bar, you can quickly open up multi-window or quickly jump into pop-up view. I personally prefer the other methods of opening up multi-window, so I'm going to turn this one back off. Not every application natively supports multi-window, so you want to go back a page, then go to Labs, and enable this feature here called Multi-Window for all apps. This will force every application to work with multi-window. Further down, you get another really important setting, and this is called a Flex Mode panel. And what this does is enhance a feature called Flex Mode. Now, Flex Mode, without turning this on, gives you extra controls in some applications when you fold your phone partially closed. This includes things like media controls for YouTube, a split view in your calendar that shows a calendar at the top with the events on the bottom, shifts the keys in the calculator app for easier access in Flex Mode, and much more. What Flex Mode panel does is bring Flex Mode features to every application. For example, YouTube Music doesn't natively support Flex Mode, so when I push this into Flex Mode, you'll see that I don't get extra controls at the bottom. However, I do get this little icon here, which isn't available when Flex Mode panel is turned off. If I tap this, that'll give me the same kind of controls that were available in the YouTube app. And if I tap this icon on the left, I can adjust the volume. Or if I tap these 3 dots, I can tap here to adjust the display brightness. And I can even tap here to enable a touchpad. And the touchpad is mostly useful for applications like the internet browser. You get a little cursor, and if you long press, you can drag to select text. You can also pinch to zoom in and out, scroll around with 2 fingers, and you even get multi-finger tap shortcuts like a 3-finger tap to go back, or a 4-finger tap to bring up your apps. The last 3 options are to quickly open up a multi-window, pull down your notification shade, or take a screenshot. And that screenshot will just be of the top section of the screen. And if you don't want the Flex panel up anymore, just tap this icon right here, and it goes away. Flex Mode is also great for having your keyboard on the bottom and the application on the top to use your phone like a tiny laptop. Where Flex Mode is most useful is inside the camera app. If you go into Flex Mode here, you'll get all of your controls down at the bottom, and it'll be much easier to set the camera up to take a picture. This is excellent for group photos, but I personally love using this for astrophotography, which is the next feature you should be using. However, this one is a bit hidden. The first thing you need to do is go into the More menu in the camera app. Then you'll see an option here in the corner called Expert RAW with a little download symbol. If you tap this, you can install that mode. Once the mode is installed, you'll be able to open it. From here, you'll have to give it a few permissions, and now you'll have access to some really powerful camera features. Most notably is this icon here. If you tap this, you'll be able to take a long exposure photo for either 4 minutes, 7 minutes, or 10 minutes. And you also get the option to show a star guide to find out where specific constellations are. And as you turn the camera, the star guide will adjust accordingly. And this is the quality of star photos you can get with this mode. For reference, here's what a normal picture looks like taken in photo mode. Here's the picture taken in night mode, and here's the picture with a 10-minute exposure with Expert RAW. The big difference is that the Expert RAW photo gives rich, true-to-life colors instead of the washed-out look of the night mode photo. The astrophotography doesn't stop there though. You can even get an incredible hyperlapse of the stars. To get a video like this, go back into the main camera app, then go to the More menu, then tap Hyperlapse, then change the speed from auto to 300 times, then set your time to infinity. If you set it to anything less, it's going to stop in this amount of minutes. And for reference, every hour of time-lapse gets you about 12 seconds of video. The last thing you'll want to do is make sure your resolution is set to UHD instead of Full HD. This will make sure you get a much more crisp video. And this icon in the corner turns on or off star trails. When it's yellow, star trails are on, and when it's white, star trails are off. And for reference, here's a video with star trails turned off, and here's a video I got with my S23 Ultra with star trails turned on. Once you've picked your settings, tap record, then wait at least an hour to get a great time-lapse. And just for fun, here's a 7-hour time-lapse of the stars that captures the sunrise taken with the Galaxy Fold 4, which has the same cameras as the Fold 5. It's remarkable to me that we can get videos like this from a smartphone, and watching the stars slowly fade away as the sun rises is super cool. While we're in the camera app, I want to point out a few more incredible Fold-specific features. For starters, while having a much larger screen to preview your photos with is pretty useful, you can make it even more useful by tapping this icon in the corner. This will let you see a preview of all of your recent photos, and if I take some more photos here, you'll see that those appear on the left. And this is really helpful for quickly seeing if you got a great shot. And if you tap one of the photos, you can quickly review the photo, or you could long press a photo and select multiple photos, then either delete them or share them. And if you zoom in past 20 times with the rear camera, you get a large zoom assistant window on the left to help you line up your shot. But if you tap in the recent photo area, the zoom assist will move back over to the right and you can review your photos. To move the zoom assistant back, just tap it in the camera preview and it'll become large again. If you're using the rear camera to take a picture of someone who always wants to take a look at the photo to make sure it was a good one, you can speed up that process by tapping this icon here. What this does is give you a cover screen preview. So if I flip my phone over, you'll see that I get a preview of what the rear camera sees. And this will help that person strike a better pose without having to look at every picture. And if you want to quickly jump in for a group photo with the rear facing cameras, just swipe across this lock icon, and that'll bring the camera controls to the cover screen so you can take pictures from here. And while the controls are on the cover screen, the main display gets disabled, so you won't have to worry about accidentally changing settings while holding the phone. But if you do want to switch back over to the main screen, just swipe the lock icon here, and it brings the controls back to this side. If you want an even faster way of taking a selfie with the rear cameras, just open up your camera app from the cover screen, then tap this selfie icon in the corner, then unfold your phone, and you'll be able to take a selfie with these rear-facing cameras. And this is especially useful if you're taking a really large group photo and you need that ultra-wide-angle lens to fit everybody in the shot. And for reference, here's the widest angle you can get with the front-facing camera, and here's the widest angle you can get with the rear-facing cameras. And if you want an easier way to take that photo, just raise your hand up in front of the camera for a second. That'll start a quick timer, then take the photo. This will help you get super stable shots. The last important camera setting you need to change is in video mode. By default, it's set to Full HD. You're going to want to switch that to UHD, which is 4K resolution, because that'll make your videos look much more crisp, especially if you're going to be watching them on a TV. And if you happen to be someone who has an 8K TV, you can switch to 8K 30fps recording as well. Just keep in mind that's going to use a whole lot more storage. So I personally recommend just keeping it at UHD unless you really need those extra pixels. Samsung DeX is one of the most overlooked features on any Samsung device. When you plug the Fold 5 into a monitor or TV with either a USB-C to HDMI adapter or a USB-C to USB-C cable, it literally turns your phone into a desktop computer with a desktop and multiple floating window support. And this can even work wirelessly with a Miracast capable display, which is most smart TVs. And while you can use the Fold 5 as a touchscreen and keyboard for DeX, you'll really want to connect an external keyboard and mouse so you can get the full desktop experience. This can easily be a desktop replacement for anyone who primarily uses their desktop for emails, web browsing, and Excel or Word doc type work. You can even play your mobile games while in DeX mode, but make sure you're connected with a cable if you do this because a wireless connection will have too much of a delay to play competitively. And if you're looking for either a great wireless adapter, USB-C to HDMI adapter, or a multi-port adapter that allows you to also use things like SD cards and USB ports with your Fold 5, then I'll leave a link to all of my favorites in the description and pinned comment. Some applications won't natively support landscape mode, so if I try to turn YouTube Studio into landscape mode, you'll see that nothing happens. But you can fix this in the settings. So pull your notification shade down and go to your settings. Then scroll down until you get to advanced features. Then go to labs. Then go to landscape view for portrait apps. Scroll down to find the application you need to set. In my case, it's YouTube Studio. And you're also going to want to change app default to full screen. If I left it on app default, then went back into the Studio app and went into landscape, it's going to leave these bars on the side where it doesn't actually fill the screen. But if I go back to my settings and switch that to full screen, then go back into the YouTube Studio app, it'll fill the whole screen. While we're talking about applications not functioning the way you expect or want them to, sometimes when you open up an application on the cover screen, then open up the phone to use that application on your main screen, it's going to open up in this narrow bar, which is the same width as the cover screen. And if you want to expand this application, you have to tap on the side, then tap this arrow here, but that'll reload the application. A better option would be to go back into the GoodLock application that you installed earlier. Make sure you're in the Tools tab, then swipe down until you find an option called Multistar, and go ahead and install that. Once it's installed, it'll appear at the top of GoodLock. Now just tap it. Then go to I Love Galaxy Foldable. Then tap this option called Show the app always full screen when unfolding, and select the application you want to change. In this case, it's YouTube Studio again. Now if I close my phone, then open the YouTube Studio app, and open my phone, it'll immediately open the application in full screen mode without having to reload the application. But what if you open an application like YouTube on your main display, then you started watching a video like my Galaxy Watch 6 and Watch 6 Classic review, where I compare these two watches to pretty much every other Samsung watch that Samsung's ever released. And you're partway through the video, but you need to keep watching it on your cover screen. Well, typically you'd have to close your phone, then unlock it, then open the application again, and you'd be able to keep watching. But if you just want to keep watching immediately, you can do that by changing some settings. All you have to do is go to Settings, then Display, then scroll most of the way down until you get to Continue Apps on Cover Screen. Now just select the apps you want to continue. In this case, it's going to be YouTube. Now when I close my phone while watching a YouTube video, it's just going to continue the video on the cover screen. But I don't recommend enabling this for all applications, because then every time you close your phone, you're going to have to remember to also turn the screen off. And while the screen's off, let's talk about another important customization you should make to your lock screen. But first, we need to go back into the GoodLock application. From inside the GoodLock application, you're going to want to go to this Customization tab, then scroll down until you find an option called Lockstar, and go ahead and install that. Once that's installed, go ahead and open it, then tap Start, and enable the permissions. What this does is unlock an incredibly powerful lock screen feature, and this can be enabled for either your main lock screen or your always-on display screen, or both if you'd prefer. So I'm going to enable this for my lock screen, then I'm going to tap the screen, then tap somewhere on the lock screen wallpaper, and I get the option to add a sticker or a widget. Now the stickers are just little characters that don't really move around or do anything, but if you like having them on there, you can put them there. But the important one is the ability to add a widget, and this can be any widget that you have installed on your device. This is exceptionally useful for controlling smart devices. So if I add this SmartThings widget here, then set my controls and tap Save, it's going to drop that widget onto the lock screen. Now, as you can see, that's colliding with my music controls, and that's fine because I can just take the music controls and drag them down to a different position. Then I can take my widget and expand it. I can also tap my notification icons and move those down a bit. And if I save this and go to my lock screen, you'll see that I can run any of my SmartThings scenes without ever having to unlock my phone. So if I just need to quickly turn my desk lights off, I can just tap here and the lights will turn off. If I need to turn them back on, I can tap there and they'll turn back on. This gets even more powerful when I enable this on my always-on display. And this time I decided to add two widgets. So I have my SmartThings control on the bottom, and I have my music control on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and tap Save, then go to my always-on display. Now I can quickly control all of my smart devices with a double tap without ever having to even turn my phone's screen on. And since I've added the music widget, I could double tap to control my music as well. One important limitation with the widgets on the always-on display is that you won't be able to scroll through those widgets unless you first double tap the time. But once you do that, you can scroll through the widget and select whatever scene you want. The next thing you should do is go to your settings, then scroll down until you get to Advanced Features and tap that, then enable One-Handed Mode. What this does is allow you to swipe down at the bottom and have the entire screen shrink down to that side. So this allows you to reach the corners with a single hand. And this can be resized to fit your hand. You can also move it to the opposite side if you're left-handed, and even move it up or down the side of the phone if that's better for you. When you're done with one-handed mode, all you have to do is tap outside of that area, or swipe down from the bottom again. And this gesture is also sensitive to which side you swipe down on. So if I swipe down on the left side, it'll shrink to the left side, and if I swipe down to the right side, it'll shrink to the right side. The displays on the Fold 5 are amazing, but to make sure you get the most out of those displays, you're going to want to go to Settings, then Display, then change Motion Smoothness from Standard to Adaptive. This will give you an incredibly smooth scrolling experience, and this feature may have been disabled depending on how you transferred your data from your old device to your new device, so definitely double check to make sure it's enabled. Another incredible display feature that should be on by default is found in the Screen Layout and Zoom option, and it's this multi-view feature here. This splits your screen into two halves so you can see more information on the screen at the same time. What you're seeing here is the default setting, but if you've got great eyesight and you want even more information on the screens, you can drag this slider for the screen zoom, and that'll make all the text smaller and fit even more information on your screens at the same time. Or if you don't have the best eyes, you can switch to standard view. That'll give you less information on the screen, but it'll make it easier to see. And if you really want to make things bigger, you can increase the screen zoom with this toggle here. That said, I do recommend keeping this in multi-view because it allows you to see both your conversations and your current message at the same time in the Messages app versus just seeing your current message. It also allows you to see 4 videos at a time in the YouTube app versus just 1, see a side panel in the calendar to quickly switch between views versus no side panel at all, and more. Since this is such a large screen, you would truly be missing out if you didn't get the brand new Ultra Slim S Pen and the case to go along with it. The S Pen adds so much more than just a better writing experience that I had to put together a dedicated video just to cover the best features. So click this video here to see why you need the S Pen if you have a Fold 5. And once you've watched that, check out this video here to see hands down the most powerful feature available on all of Samsung's devices. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the rest of my deep dive coverage. That's it for this tech episode. God bless, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.